Hi, my name is Dr. Lane Weaver, and I'm the low brass instructor here at Utah State University. Thank you for taking a few minutes to review these tips on preparing for your UMEA All-State audition. I hope they provide some helpful thoughts and considerations to aid your preparation process. Here are some general preparation suggestions to keep in mind. The tips offered here can also be applied to the bass trombone excerpt, and I'll have a few thoughts on the bass trombone audition at the end of this video. First, do your best to learn the excerpts correctly right off the bat. Studies show that the more you play something correctly toward the beginning of the learning process, the more efficient your learning is, the more accurate your learning is, and the greater your retention is. Toward that end, I would suggest biting off small chunks, perhaps 2 or 4 measures at a time, or even less if needed, and learning the passages slowly. Start practicing at whatever tempo allows you to play things correctly as soon as possible. Also, use a metronome. There are a few instances in these excerpts where natural tendencies to hesitate will emerge. A metronome will keep our pulse honest. I would further suggest using a drone to help support your pitch accuracy. A drone is a long, sustained tone, most often played on the tonic or first note of the scale or key you're playing. Drones can easily be found online and will provide a great baseline for tuning each interval you play. Be sure you tune to the drone before you practice. An electronic tuner or tuning app on a phone can help settle your pitch. Make a plan for your preparation. An audition is not something you can cram for. Make calendar goals that provide a framework to guide your preparation. For example, you may set up weekly goals for how many measures you want to learn at a time, or how much you want to increase your tempo as the audition approaches. Make sure you take into account times when family commitments, school activities, or other busy things might leave you with a bit less time to practice in any given week. Let your plan be your guide, and it will help you be ready about a week or so before the audition. This can make sure you make the best and most confident recording you can. Finally, make sure your instrument is working well. It's critical that your slide is free from hindrance, your tuning slides can be adjusted, and your trigger mechanism, if you have one, moves freely and easily. You don't want your equipment holding you back. Let's take a look at the first excerpt. These tips will also apply to the A ending at the bottom of the page. We're told the tempo is dotted quarter equals 52, the tempo is andante, which means moderately slow, and the style is cantabile, which means to play in a singing fashion. We also notice quite a bit of slurring, moderate dynamics, and crescendos and decrescendos that will help us shape the phrases. Be careful not to play the softer dynamics too softly. No one cares about a specific decibel level. Always choose a dynamic that allows you to play with your best sound. The passage is in 6/8. For phrasing and flow, we'll want to feel it in 2, emphasizing the dotted quarter note pulse. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. However, I would suggest that as we prepare, we set the metronome to the 8th note. This will especially help us keep tempo off the dotted 8th notes in the 3rd, 6th, and 8th measure, as well as keep us on track through the hemiolia feel of the 8th measure. Now, a hemiolia is simply a passage where the rhythm feels like it's in a different meter or time signature than what's printed in the music. We're in G major, so set a drone to G to help your intonation. Be sure you play G above the staff in a sharp 2nd position and your F sharp above the staff in a sharp 3rd. These notes must be played in these alternate positions to be in tune. When executing legato, be sure your slide is moving quickly and accurately. Now that can seem counterintuitive to playing in a smooth and flowing style, but we want to eliminate any tweener or glissando sounds in our legato. A fast slide minimizes the time between notes, and along with a solid active airstream, helps us connect the notes smoothly. When you play, focus on shaping the music and your expression into 2-bar phrases. As indicated, model your performance after a great singer. You may even want to sing this passage yourself as a way to develop your own expression. Be careful to follow the articulation indications in the last phrase. Not everything there is slurred, and you might consider adding a little lift off of the last note of a slur grouping to help clarify the articulation that follows. The second excerpt contrasts with the first in that it is faster, as indicated by Allegro, and should be played with energy and bounce, as indicated by agitato. We start in E minor for measures 10 through 24 and shift to G major after that. Set your drone on E and G respectively as you practice each section. Be sure that each mark on the page means something. Staccatos should be different than accents. Dynamics should be clear, and releases should be accurate. Work toward the marked tempo, but playing cleanly and accurately is the most important. Play at the tempo that makes you sound your best. I would suggest exploring alternate positions in a couple of instances. The first is in measures 26 through 29. Consider playing some of the Ds above the staff in fourth position to take advantage of the natural partial breaks in your slurring. There are a couple of possibilities, but for me, fourth position Ds in measures 26 and 29 make the most sense. Also, using fifth position for the A sharp in measure 37 reduces the distance your slide has to move and mimics your slide movement in measure 35, which supports the sequential nature of that section. Finally, let's talk about the RF notation in measures 34 and 36. This is an abbreviation for rinforzando in Italian. This is similar to an SF or sforzando with one small difference. Whereas a note marked sforzando would be played with emphasis or stress followed by a quick decay, I like to hold the stress of a rinforzando through the duration of the note. So lean into these dotted quarters and release them into the following note. Think of them as a weight accent rather than a popped accent. Now a few thoughts on the bass trombone excerpt. This excerpt is very similar to those for the tenor trombone except for range and key. The first and third excerpts are in C major, and the second excerpt is in A minor and C major. Be careful that your double trigger notes are in tune. These often trend sharp. Use a drone and a tuner to check these pitches. Other than that, the suggestions provided for the tenor trombone audition apply well to the bass trombone audition. Finally, as you prepare, do the things to set your performance apart from others that might not be doing things similarly. Whether that's being disciplined in your practice, paying attention to details, or simply using a metronome and a drone. Allstate can be a wonderful experience as you work with highly renowned professionals and some of the best high school musicians in the state. Please do not hesitate to contact me directly if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to help. My contact information can be found on the USU website. I hope this video helps you earn your spot in this year's Allstate experience. Good luck and keep making music.
Thank you.